Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys watch random movies and talk about them. With me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the Mobile Suit Gundam to my other Mobile Suit Gundam, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Seddon. How are you, Kyle?
I'm recovering. Corona made it through my mobile suit.
That's disappointing.
You
didn't stop it with your laser sword or your guns or your head guns or whatever.
I didn't. It was too small. I couldn't shoot it.
That's true.
No, but I'm doing okay. It was like a bad cold, so.
Okay, and this is one of our mini episodes where we talk about what we've been watching. So, Kyle, you want to go first this week?
I will do that. All right. First off, rented a DVD from the library. Support your local library. I rented Old from 2021, the new M. Night Shyamalan movie. This is about a couple and their kids who go to this resort, to get away, and they go to, and the people at the resort show them this secluded beach, and there's a couple people that go there with them, and then weird things start happening on the beach, and people start aging super fast, and then there's a twist at the end. Well, it's not much of a twist, but it was an interesting concept, but the dialogue was so clunky that it was almost hard to watch.
Well, that's unfortunate. But clunky, not in like a fun way.
No, it wasn't. It was just, yeah.
Not in like a Tommy Wiseau, The Room sort of way.
No, and there was decent actors in it too. I can't think of who the main guy was. And then, Mackenzie Thomason, who was in Jojo Rabbit, she played the daughter at one of the ages. And then, that's not really a spoiler that's the premise of the movie. And then, Rufus Sewell was in it. And there's a couple others that I recognized in there, but a decent cast, but I just don't think it was well written. But I found the premise intriguing though, but it wasn't enough to save it. So I'd probably pass on this one. It's too bad because it was kind of a cool little movie, but like the acting and the dialogue just
didn't quite stick with you.
It didn't. Then on HBO Max, I watched Hooper from 1978. And this one is a high recommend. This is Burt Reynolds and Sally Field. And Burt Reynolds, it's directed by Hal Needham. And I can't believe I've never seen this before. It's about Burt Reynolds plays a stuntman, getting to that point where he needs to retire, because they kind of wear down their bodies pretty quick. And then a new guy, there's a new stuntman coming in and kind of pushing him out, and played by Jan Michael Vincent from Airwolf.
Nice.
And Burt Reynolds plays Adam West's stuntman. So
that's great.
And they're making like a James Bond type movie, but it's a really cool movie because Hal Needham actually started as a stuntman, and so he knows his stunts, and this is a really interesting look into, like, I think this is kind of a personal picture and a really interesting look into like the life of a stuntman in the 70s for Hollywood. So this is a big recommend. Burt Reynolds and Sally Field are great, and this whole movie is just a lot of fun. So
nice.
Then on family movie night, we watched Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I forgot how much I loved this movie. Lord and Miller, I think everything they touch turns to gold, really.
Yeah, this is one of their first big ones, right?
I think so. I think it was one of their first movies. And so, a guy, it's based off of a kid's book. This inventor lives in a town where they sell a lot of sardines, and it's boring. So he makes a machine that can take water and turn it into any food. And then you get a storm of food, and then he has to stop it and save the day. And it's really funny. I like this movie a lot. It's a lot of fun. It's a really good family movie, so that's a high recommend. Then I rented another DVD, Venom: Let There Be Carnage from 2021.
I've talked about this one.
It's one of those where both this and the first one, I had a fun time watching, but I wanted more. I don't know. I wanted more out of both of them. I had a good time with them, so I would still recommend watching them just for a fun movie, but I just felt with these characters we could have gotten something better.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I don't think anyone would claim that these movies are good, but they are fun.
Yeah, and that's it, because especially with Carnage, I'm like, I wanted, yeah, sure, he's killing everybody left and right, but I wanted like it to be actual carnage, just
You wanted maximum carnage, you might
I
say.
wanted maximum carnage. But yeah, they're fun, dopey movies that I enjoy, but I don't know if you're a huge fan of the characters. I I don't know how well they portray them, but it's kind of dopey fun. So
Hmm.
take that for what it is. Then popped on a Blu-ray of well, my wife and I watched the 20th anniversary Harry Potter special on HBO Max, and one of my daughters was watching that with us, and then she was like, "Hey, I want to watch the Harry Potter movies." And Ariane's like, "Okay," because she loves them. She owns the Blu-rays and she's read the books several times, and
Hmm.
she loves Harry Potter. So we watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone from 2001, and I'm not going to say much because we did a whole podcast on this one,
We did do that one.
and it's an excellent movie. So go watch it. Well, what ended up happening was since I was still recovering from COVID, and my wife was recovering from a cold. She was negative, but she still had a cold. Her and my daughter ended up watching all of the movies over the weekend.
Nice,
So
nice.
so I think my oldest daughter watched some of them, and Elsa, my youngest, watched all of them this weekend. So she got to see all of the Harry Potters.
Back in my day, we had to wait years in between books and
Right.
years between movies.
That's why like a lot of TV shows, I like to wait until they're done and then watch them.
Fair enough.
Then I rented another DVD. This one looked interesting. The Birthday Cake from 2021. I
Was it
didn't
about a
recognize.
birthday cake?
It's about a birthday cake. It just
Yay.
walks around, singing happy birthday to people,
How
because you
pleasant.
because you can do that now. I
That's
think
very
it's
true.
I think it's now in what is it, open domain or whatever it's called. But no, this was about a guy who comes from like a mafia family type thing. I didn't recognize the main actor, but his father passed away like 10 years before, and every year on his father's birthday, they got together with the family, and his mom baked a cake and he took it to them. So then this is the 10th anniversary of his father's death, and it's just kind of his night running into people he knows, and then eventually getting to the party, and I won't spoil it. I didn't think this was great, but I don't know. I don't want to spoil it anyway. It was mostly just like a one of those movies that's set in one night.
Oh,
It
okay.
had Val Kilmer in it. What and this is like current. This is 2021, so this is current like throat cancer Val Kilmer.
Poor guy.
The in the movie they say that he was shot in the throat, so that's why he's got the like you can't understand him very well.
Hmm.
And William Fichtner was in it, which is always fun to see. I love William Fichtner in everything. So yeah, there's a couple of fun actors. Ewan McGregor shows up as a priest, and he's in it for about 5 minutes, and then he narrates it a little. So interesting cast, but
Yeah, I was gonna say
oh,
it's a solid cast.
overall kind of a bland movie, but it is what it is. Then on Netflix, I watched The Debt Collector from 2018 because every once in a while, I just need to pop on a Scott Adkins movie that I've never seen before.
Fair enough. There are a lot of those.
there, there are so many of them, and I love them all. And this was no exception. Uh, I, this is he starts off like he's got a kung fu dojo or whatever, and he's not getting any students, and so he needs extra money, and he gets caught up as a debt collector for this guy, and they kind of just go and beat on people that owe like thousands of money to some dude. And so you get to see Scott Adkins beat people up, and that's what you go into a Scott Adkins movie for.
Hmm.
and, and I love it. It's great. And Tony Todd makes an appearance in this movie. So
Nice.
I mean, what more do you want? I'm recommending this one.
Exactly.
It's on Netflix and there's a sequel, and I think I might need to watch the sequel.
Debt Collector 2, past due.
Past.
You're like minimum payment.
I'm just a huge Adkins fan. I love it. Then I rented another DVD, Stillwater from 2021. I know this isn't about the band from Almost Famous.
Well, that's disappointing.
No, this is basically, who was it that was it Amanda Knox? Was that her name? The one who got arrested in like France or something like that for killing her roommate?
Something like that.
Yeah, I think her name was Amanda Knox. This was basically like they took her story and just made it into a movie. And when I told my wife I was going to watch this, she's like, I heard about this movie and that she was mad at it because she's like, they just took my story and made a movie without even asking me or anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel bad for her. But this has got Matt Damon, Abigail Breslin plays the daughter, and so I mean, if you know the story, it's this girl is in jail in France for murdering her roommate, and she says there was some dude that did it, and they couldn't find the guy, so she's serving time. She's been in prison for like 5 years, and then her dad comes over and tries to help out, and this more follows the dad in the
Yeah, and it's
story.
more about Matt Damon, right?
It is. And really good performances. And he like while he's there, he forms a bond with a woman and her daughter who help him out. But it's one of those where it's like it was just okay. And also as a dad, I would do anything to get my daughter out of prison too. But even with that, like some of the decisions Matt Damon made, I was like, why are you doing that? What's your thought process there?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's one scene where like she is like, "Oh, I heard someone talking about this person, and they were a witness to someone admitting to killing someone, getting away with it." And she's like, "That's the guy. So can you take this to the judge?" Well, then he does, and the judge says, "No, I can't do this. This isn't enough to reopen this case." And he goes back to the daughter and says, "Oh yeah, she's going to look into it." I'm like, "What?" Like
Yeah,
that's
like why is what's the lie worth, I guess.
yeah, what's the yeah, I wasn't sure what lying really accomplished there. So and it had something to do with their strained relationship too, because like he was kind of an absentee dad for a long time, and so she doesn't trust him to do anything. But it's still, you don't lie to her and tell her that like there's hope there from the
Mm-hmm.
judge. Yeah, so there was a couple of decisions that I was just like, "What are you doing, dude?" But good performances and interesting movie, and but it was just okay. I I was hoping for a little better because I think it was the same director who did Spotlight, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then finally on Pluto TV, I watched The Crow from 1994. I was listening to
Nice.
I was listening to a podcast on this one, and I was like, "Man, I haven't watched that in forever. I need to revisit."
Did you go
And it
full
was
goth
worth it.
for it?
I put on my white makeup and uh, in my goth clothes. I went to Hot Topic and I went full 90s
Nice.
goth. Yeah, based off of a James O'Barr comic that apparently he wrote when he was grieving the death of his wife, about a guy and his wife who are murdered, and a crow brings the guy back to avenge their death. And so he goes and kills the bad guys. And it's got Ernie Hudson and my second Tony Todd film this week.
Oh,
Because he's in this one as well. So maybe I can on Letterboxd this past year. My most watched actor was Samuel L. Jackson because, of course, he's in everything.
that's
Um,
true.
maybe this year I should make it Tony Todd.
Mm-hmm.
Although I might run out of good movies with him.
True, but I'm sure they exist though.
Final Destination. He was in the Hatchet movies. I think the first two Hatchet movies. Hey, I liked the Hatchet series. They were fun.
Nice.
But yeah, The Crow is, I love that movie. It's great, and it's so sad that was the tragedy behind the movie too is very sad.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that's yeah, I ended my watching on a downer. Jeez, no, it was a good movie.
Okay, so I only watched 6 this time around just because I was busy doing other stuff, and sometimes you just don't have a lot of time to watch a movie. You're just doing something else, and that's fine too. So first, I watch Shadow of a Doubt, the Hitchcock classic, starring Joseph Cotton. This was one of Hitchcock's favorites, and it's about a man who comes home to see his family. He's a beloved uncle, but turns out he's also a serial killer, and the family doesn't know. But the oldest daughter, who's also named after him, slowly starting to figure it out, and like, how is she going to keep this a secret, or is she eventually going to be killed by him?
Dun, dun,
Classic
dun.
suspense, also classic Hitchcock small town. Some of his humor too, because like there's these two older guys who always try and like the whole movie they're having like this ongoing conversation about what would be the best way to commit a murder, like how would I best kill you and how would you best kill me so that you would never get caught. It's pretty funny.
I have not seen Without a Doubt yet.
Shadow of a Doubt.
Shadow of it without a doubt, a shadow. I've got no shadow of a doubt. Something about a doubt.
Something or other.
Doubt with what's her face?
Yeah, Mrs.
Uh
Doubtfire.
Mrs. Doubtfire? No, I have not seen that movie yet. That's one of the
Yeah,
Hitchcock.
the Criterion Channel has the collection going they started called Hitchcock for the Holidays, and it's
Oh,
just a
nice.
bunch of his movies.
Sweet.
Next, I watched Mobile Suit. These are kind of a 3-in-1. Next, I watched Mobile Suit Gundam, Mobile Suit Gundam 2, Sea of Sorrow, Mobile Suit Gundam 3, Encounters in Space. And these are 3 movies made up of scenes and clips from the first Mobile Suit Gundam series. So these movies were made in the 80s. They redid some animation, fleshed some stuff out from the original show. It aired in 1979. So Gundam is huge in Japan, and I had never really touched it. It's almost reminded me a little bit of something like the X-Men, where just there's so much continuity, it almost feels impenetrable at first.
I haven't seen any of it. I'd be interested to visit it, but that sounds kind of
Yeah,
heavy
those
to
3
get into.
movies all like over 2 hours, like 2 hours 10 minutes each.
Oh wow!
All 3 of them are on Netflix.
Did you watch them Gundam style?
Yes. By that I mean I was building a model kit the whole time. So yeah, I was Gundam is one of those things where like if you're aware of its existence, but you just don't really know much about it. But it's
Would these
always
3 movies be
interesting.
a good diving in point then?
They are from I googling from my resources on Doctor Internet. They are a really good entry point into the series
Okay.
and into the franchise because kind of everything spins off of this in one way, shape, or form. But yeah, overall, basic premise. In the future, there's a war, and then they fight these war with these giant robots and people inside piloting them. And it's all about a plucky teenager whose dad is like a Gundam designer or something. And then he's like the only person who's cool enough or whatever to pilot this one mobile suit Gundam, and he's really good at it. And then over the course of the series, it's all about this war between two sides of humanity in space, and lots of action in Japan.
And then one of the robots goes back in time to kill the pilot as a child.
Yep.
I thought so.
Also, do you remember the TV show Megas XLR?
Yes, I think so. Is that if that's what I'm thinking of? Was it kind of a funny?
Well, basically, like the Gundam or some like giant robot gets sent back into the past, goes too far back, so then like in the present, some goofball discovers it and then gets it running by replacing the head with a car, and then it fights giant monsters.
Yes, and here's what like. I watched this with a roommate just out of college when I was living with a couple of friends, and we would watch this show. And there's one scene in particular that I would always go back to because it cracked me up. There was one where they had to fight someone, and I remember that he put speakers on the front of the robot, and then he's like singing, "If I gave my I gave my love a chicken that had no bone." And I don't know why I remember that scene from that cartoon. Like I watched several episodes, and that scene always stuck
Yeah, I
out
hope
with
it's
me.
streaming somewhere. I'd like to revisit it. I remember really liking it as a kid.
I'm glad you actually mentioned the name of that because for the longest time I've been trying to remember what that show was even called. So
Nice.
I thought about that show not just a few months ago actually, and I was like, that scene came into my head for some reason, and I was like, I wish I remember what that show was called so I could check it out again.
All right, so next I had Marnie, which is another in the Hitchcock collection on Criterion Channel. This one, because Hitchcock is interesting for me. I'm kind of mostly know his stuff from like the 50s, probably his most famous period stuff like Rear Window, Vertigo, Psycho, 1960, and some other stuff before that. North by Northwest, probably his most famous period. So I haven't really watched stuff in his later half from like the 60s and the 70s. He made this one, I believe, after he made The Birds. And this one's starring Tippi Hedren and also Sean Connery. So it's kind of fun to see him in there. And it's about a woman who's a thief, and then she gets caught by sort of a book publisher, and then he blackmails her into marrying him. And then then the movie shifts from more like a crime film to more about finding out about this woman's deeper psychological issues, because she's got things like she's scared of thunderstorms, and like she really has something against the color red, which always freaks her out.
All right. Yeah, this is another one I haven't seen. I'm really lacking in the movies I've seen of Hitchcock, which is really sad because everything I've seen of Hitchcock I've really enjoyed. So I've seen a lot of Hitchcock, but there's a ton that I have not checked out yet.
Yeah, he had a very long and successful career, which I'm grateful for because there's always something new to discover.
To go back, I looked it up quick, and Megas XLR is not streaming anywhere on our services.
That is a shame.
I know.
And lastly was a rewatch for me. I watched Zootopia.
Oh, fun.
Yep, this one's fun. Hadn't seen it since I saw it way back when it was in theaters. And yeah, I think it's smart because it takes a story that the audience is familiar with. So it takes a detective story and then puts it in a new setting. In the same way, they use the same basic tactic, I think, for Detective Pikachu, because the audience knows how a detective story works. So when it's in the new setting, they can still find something to anchor themselves to without being really confused by all the crazy stuff that's happening.
Yeah, and that movie worked because I am not into Pokemon, never really watched it, but I liked Detective Pikachu.
Well, that did have the dark power of Ryan Reynolds.
It did.
And this one is good too. It's got, Jennifer Goodwin, Jason Bateman. I like the whole segment with like the mole or whatever, the Godfather or whatever, this like this gangster vole or whatever.
Oh yeah. I still do the whenever someone gets injured, I'll go blood, 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 blood.
Yeah.
And it's a podcast, so you can't see me, but I'm doing the arm gesture too, like you, because she throws like the fake blood. It's like blood. Yeah, I like Zootopia. It's a fun movie.
Yeah, it's basically like 48 hours if they were animals.
Right.
48 animal hours.
And Jason Bateman's pretty fun in that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, overall, I liked it. Even like the Breaking Bad reference was kind of funny.
I don't know if I remember that.
Well, because they were, first of all, when they're like taming these, growing these secret flowers that drive people crazy, it's like one of them is named like, they're in almost like these yellow hazmat suits, so it kind of looks like Breaking Bad. The flowers are blue, and the drugs in Breaking Bad were blue.
Yeah.
And then also, there's even a throwaway lines like, yeah, I just gotta call you back, Jesse and Walter on their own way instead of Walter and Jesse. Just dumb stuff like that. And I really like Jenny Slate as sort of like the assistant mayor, and then J.K. Simmons as the mayor, being J.K. Simmons.
Right. That's always good. Yeah, good cast. Good movie.
And that's all I had for me. So what do you think you're going to watch next?
Well, I'm going to go back to what I said last time because I didn't get around to watching it, and I'm going to keep my copy of No Time to Die on my list of things to watch. So we'll see if I get around to it this time. And also The Debt Collector too. I think an alternate title for that is Debt Collectors. So if you're looking up these movies, it could either be under Debt Collector 2 or Debt Collectors.
Ooh, so, there's more than one this time.
No, well, I think it's just under two different titles, depending on where you look for it.
Like a Repo Man crossover with Emilio Estevez.
That'd be good. So yeah, those are my two on my watch list. What about you?
For me, I still have like an hour left in Casino.
Oh,
Martin Scorsese and Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro. That, and I'm gonna finally watch The Irishman because I actually was able to read the book recently. So
I liked the Irishman was good to see Joe Pesci back on the screen again. That I think
mhm,
that's the best part of that movie was like him retiring. You just kind of when someone retires, you just kind of they're gone and you go, oh yeah, I remember their movies. And then when someone comes back like that, like Joe Pesci, and he comes back and does the Irishman, you're going, oh god dang, I forgot how good this guy is. I like him.
mhm.
I miss him. He needs to do more movies.
Yeah, now we just need Rick Moranis to come back.
I know, right? So, dang fun actors retiring early.
Hey, that's okay. We support them and we just want them to be doing okay.
Right? Everyone else retires at like 66, 67. Why can't they?
Mhm.
Although then we'd have no movies with with an elderly cast. So everyone would have to put on old makeup.
Exactly. Or they just need to go to the beach.
Right. Or get too much Botox. Oh wait, half
Mhm.
of them do that already.
Hey.
Oh, so yeah. Well, I guess that's our show for today. You can find us on Twitter at AwesomeKM,
And I'm at Noah_Saturn. That is spelled Satern.
and we're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch, and you can email us We Don't Know What to Watch at gmail.com. Like, subscribe, comment, all those crazy things, and till next time, keep on watching.
Keep on watching, and every time Joe Pesci swears, take a drink. You'd be dead.
Oh my God, you'll die.
Exactly.